or one of our gCADPlus users is working on a design for the development of the property you see here on the left-hand side, and a base plan has been provided in the form of an image file, and you can see it here on the right-hand side of screen. So both these images have been brought in and use the Format and Images tool to load those images. The first step, once we bring the house footprint in, is to scale it. So we want an accurate base plan. We do have a north indicator, which is useful, so we'll be able to make a base plan with a north indicator in the correct position. And you can see over here on the right, I've turned the image to match the image in the schematic. We want gCADPlus to report back to us accurate distances. And we do have an accurate distance 19940 for the longest side of the house footprint. So what we can do is use the scale command. So I select it. So what we can do is to select the image, use the distance command and draw from one part of that line to the other and come along here to the other end and click it. So I get 50,892, which is, so this image needs to be scaled down, and we've got our convenient calculator here sitting here, so we can enter into the calculator. Here it comes. We want 19940, 19940 divided by 5892, 5892, and we get a scaling factor of 0.3918, 0.3918. So right click, scale, the base point can be down here, 0.3918, and hit enter. Now, I'll just get rid of those because I was using those as masking. We now have, so whenever we jump in here, we should get a reasonably accurate view. So we come over this side, we've got 5 meters from that point there to there. So let's use distance again. So 5 meters from this point to that point there, and we've got 4998 or 5018. So I'm confident now we have an accurately scaled base plan that we can work with. We're at this stage, we can draw the house footprint, and I've created a new layer, set its color to magenta and set a thickness, and I'll OK it. And you can see here I'm developing the line around the footprint of the house. Notice that it's red, and the reason that it is red is that we had it set to draw color red. I've now changed to color by layer, and we're going to continue the polyline that we've been using to draw the footprint of the house, and we'll get to the end there. Let me zoom in a little. We can come across here and then up to the end here, and this new line should appear magenta, and it does. We can pick the other red lines that we were drawing, which were essentially in error, and just change those to, instead of being color red, to by layer. And when we pull away, we now have a magenta line accurately drawn, which gives us the footprint of the house. All we do need for our landscape designer, the north point. I've brought a north indicator in from the details section of the library. I haven't bothered to copy and recreate that one. I think this one will do. The main thing we're interested in is the angle, of course, of north. So I put polar on, and we can move it across orthogonal, and we can now move it down like so. So we now have a house footprint, and outside of it the north indicator. So north is bottom and to the right. Well, we've done as much as we can using an image file such as this. Now time for some so-called ground. It's now time for some ground truthing, and you will need to visit the site, set your measure on the corner here, and measure from that node to this corner here, and from the same point, the other corner of the house, across to another boundary. So you could get those two measurements. That would set the corner here to the boundaries, and I'd do the same thing here. As long as you have a clear vision, and you could set a point here and measure to that corner of the boundary, and set another point here, at that point there, and then come across to the other boundary. You'll be able to, once you have those points set on the surveying border or the surveyor's border, then you can draw that polyline arc in and the two separate lines and marry up the base plan that we've got. You'd have to do a little bit of rotation, but marry up the two. So if you then click on a boundary, you'll get the correct value. Clicking on any wall in here, you get your correct values. So we then would have something that we can work from. And if we now take off our image file by we have an image layer, and there we are. Get rid of these again. You will have rotated and scaled, so you'd have your drawing. There'd be a boundary line running along here, and a shorter boundary here, a longer boundary rather here, and another one up there to quite a small boundary in the wedge shape site. So it's a combination of using an image, taking the information you have, and then going back on site and taking some more accurate measurements, and you'll be then in a position to produce the detailed landscape plan. An architect's rendering has shown where these things might be, but you would put your detailed plan on it. Hope that helps our user.